The date is July 19th, 2011. My name is Ann Denny, and I'm interviewing for the Maria Rogers Oral History Project for the Carnegie Library in Boulder, Colorado. Today we're interviewing a teacher and two of her students. On the left is Norma Weese Conaway, who now lives in Loveland. She was a student of Evelyn Bullock in the center. Evelyn taught at Montgomery School just east of Lyons. And on the right is Dorothy Dirkes George, another student who today lives just a mile east of Lyons on the Foothills Highway. I'm going to start with Evelyn. When and where were you born, Evelyn?
In the house that I lived in most of my life, east of Lyons, about 2 miles.
And that was on a farm?
It was a farm, our original farm of 160 acres.
How long had your, was it in the family with your parents, or did it go back further than that?
To my grandparents.
And what were their names?
Bullock, Alva Bullock, and he had 3 boys, Ray, Everett, and my father, Roy. And it became our home, and we lived there forever, just about.
Why did your grandfather come to Boulder County in the first place?
He came to Boulder County because he lived out eastern part of the state, Callahan, and they had a little acreage, and he planted a whole bunch of potatoes. And when they about were ready to harvest, he said, "I've had enough of this." So they hitched the horses to the wagon, pulled out, left the potatoes, and came out here to the Hygiene area.
Where did they live there?
They were in a covered wagon, and they came to the place where there's a restaurant on the Hygiene Road. And my grandfather worked for harvesters in wheat fields. It was time to reap. So he got a job. His boys were too small, and that's what he did. He hired out, and then he found this farm that was for sale, and so they bought it. I can't remember the woman's name, but it was this elderly lady, and it was ours from then on.
Okay. I'm going to show a photograph of your parents, and you were commenting on the corn in the distance. What were your parents' names?
My father was Roy, or Leroy, but he went by Roy. And Mom was Louise Bullock. It was Bensel. Mary Dad became Bullock.
Where did she come from?
Trenton, New Jersey.
Oh, how did she end up out here?
She came out here to teach a church school and to live with her aunt and Uncle Pennington, who lived on the Fisher farm. The Fishers owned that later on. That's how it was known. And she lived with them and taught church school right east of McCall Lake.
And you mentioned the corn in the background that your father raised.
Well, I don't know how tall it was, but it was about half higher than a horse's back. You know, I don't know how tall a horse is, maybe 5 feet or so. And you see in the picture that the corn was half the height of a horse beyond the horse. It was tall corn. Wasn't the most grainy corn. You didn't planted for the grain, but we had silage and made wonderful silage, and it had enough grain to be good feed for cattle.
Okay. Did you, you went to school yourself, where?
First grade, my mom taught me. I was kind of puny. And the second grade, I went to Montgomery School. One of these pictures indicates that I'm standing there next to my old boyfriend, Glenn Weese. And then from the third on through the eighth, I went to Seventh-day Adventist Church School down east of McCall Lake, and graduated from there.
I'm trying to place that school. Is it still there?
It is not there. It was torn down, and there's a private individual's home there now.
I see.
Yeah.
Are there any pictures of that anywhere? I've never seen that.
Yes. I can't tell you where, but in my books. And they are my parents. My mom taught there. But the Wang family, who was in this area, they went to school there. They were practically grown, but they didn't have an opportunity to go to school. So kids that age went to school. My mom was their teacher.
Was that school all regular school months in session, or
Yes. It was like the public school, only in addition they taught Bible.
Did you have chores in addition to going to school when you were a child?
I can't remember of it.
You can't remember chores?
No, I really can't remember anything that I had to do outside.
Did you have any brothers and sisters that did it for you?
No, I had one brother, and he didn't go out and do chores either. I think we didn't have cattle to milk. What did we have? Cat and a dog. Nothing very interesting.
What was your cash crop then? How did your father make a living for his family?
We lived east of that church in Hygiene.
The Dunkard Church?
Dunkard Church, right next door to it. And they owned that farm. Dad raised crops there. He was a farmer.
Okay, all right.
It wasn't exactly a luxurious living. That's what was provided at that time.
What did you do for entertainment around Hygiene in those days?
Oh, yeah, entertainment. That's a new word. Oh, well, let's see. We went to church, and then they had functions for the kids. We'd have picnics. We went up to Meadow Park, which is right up in Lyons. Had picnics, and we never went to the theater. There was no theater available. There wasn't anything else to do. Sales, farm sales, when there was a farm sale, that was much fun. We'd go to that and go to the refreshment booth that the ladies in the area all made wonderful pies. And you got a great big hamburger and a cup of coffee, and it was so good. Well, we had enough money to do that, so it was good.
Did you ever go to the fair in Longmont?
Yes, oh yes. Later on, when it got a little bigger, we went to the fair and got tickets to go up into the grandstand, and we had to have refreshments down underneath before we went up to see the show. And it seems like it rained a lot. It was very smelly down there underneath. But that didn't bother the flavor of the hamburger pie at all. It was all very tasty. Good.
Now, you taught at Montgomery School from when to when?
Oh my, you ask that. I think it's 38 and 12 more years. Does that make 50? 1950?
Okay.
Because I went to Longmont in 1950.
Now, that school that you taught in is still standing?
Well, it was a Montgomery School. Yes, it still stands.
Okay.
Very much so.
Okay. That was the second Montgomery School. I'm going to show a picture of the first Montgomery School.
I didn't have the fortune of teaching in that school.
Yeah.
But the foundation was still there when we went to school in the second building. It was backed by a great big tree.
Okay, so they didn't build the second school on top of where the first
they
one
didn't.
was. All right. Foundation was still there.
Yes.
Was it? Well, I'm asking you
It
to.
was smaller.
It was. Okay.
Quite a bit small. More like a individual room. Yeah, I don't know what size, but it wasn't big.
So how many rooms did you have in the second Montgomery School?
Well, that's when these kids were there.
Well, it's really one big room upstairs on the main floor with a cloakroom
Yeah.
And a basement and down below.
beyond the basement below.
So you had all students in one room?
No. There were two classrooms. The older students were upstairs from the 5th through the 8th, and the basement that was 1st through the 4th. And it was a classroom also. Blackboards on the south side. Had a little cook stove in there in front of a furnace, and we could heat water with that cook stove. And
So were you teaching the lower grades or the upper grades?
well, I taught primary sometimes when Florence Siglinger was a teacher there. She taught there before I did. And my mom always said, "You have to meet Florence. She's such a wonderful person." And I had heard so much about Florence. I couldn't stand Florence. I finally went over to meet Florence. She was a wonderful person. I loved her. Everybody else loved her. She was upstairs teacher, 5th through the 8th. I had 1st through 4th downstairs.
Montgomery School was your very first school? to
Yeah,
teach.
very
What
first.
was your training for that?
Well, I went to Lincoln, Nebraska to our church college for 2 years. I came back, that's kind of expensive. Came back and went to Greeley Teachers College for a year. And then they told me they were going to have an opening there at Montgomery. Why didn't I apply? So I did. And I got a permit from the state for certificate to teach. And then I went summers for a while to Greeley to school. And then I went over to Boulder, the university, and took some summer school over there. So I had 2 college years, 1 additional at Greeley. That's when I started to teach.
Did you live in Greeley in a boarding house or?
Yes, I roomed with another girl. It seems like it was on 8th Avenue, I'm not sure. Near a stop sign, all the big trucks screeched all night.
Did you have fun there, that girl?
Yes, she was an interesting person.
Well, that speaks volumes.
She loved pig's feet, and I couldn't stand to see her eat them. And she do that at the table. She had little black whiskers, and she'd smear some kind of sap over her face, and it'd kind of dry, and then she'd rip it off, and it must have hurt terrible.
Oh my gosh.
But that's why I say she was interesting. I shouldn't tell these things.
Yes, you should. That's why we're here.
So you got accepted. You applied to the.
Yeah, I applied and was accepted.
What kinds of things did they ask you on your application form?
Oh, I don't know. I had to go. Now, are you talking about Montgomery or Longmont?
Well, Montgomery and then Longmont.
Well, they didn't question me anything about Montgomery. Only if I wanted a job, and then there were 3 members I think I had to talk to. Charlie Montgomery, and your mom was one. I'm trying to think of her name. Isn't that
Agnes.
horrible?
Agnes Dirkes.
Agnes.
Dirkes would have been her name then.
Yeah. And somebody else, I don't know. But they were very easy to talk to. They wanted to know what teachers' magazines you took and what education you'd have, what classes you enjoyed. If you liked kids, that's kind of important.
Did they want to know about your health?
No. My health?
Mm-hmm.
No. I think they could tell by looking that I was still physically fit.
Okay. So was that any different an experience than applying for a job in Longmont?
Yes.
How so?
I had to go see a banker, and he questioned me thoroughly about also the teachers' magazines that I took, and what I was interested in, and why I wanted to come to Longmont, and many questions.
Was he from the school board then?
He was school board.
Okay.
He was. I want to say his name, and I can't just about, but
1950.
he worked at the bank,
Okay.
and he was on the school board.
Okay.
And I had to go see Trailer. I think his name was Trailer. It was a hardware man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
trailer
that's
hardware.
trailer.
Yeah. He was kind of a pain to talk to, but I got through it.
Okay. So you girls knew Evelyn as students at Montgomery. What are some of your memories of her? I'll just start with you.
Keep it good.
Well, I was the only child in my grade from the 1st through the 3rd. That gives you an idea how many kids we had. And my girlfriend was 1 year ahead of me. And when I was in the 3rd grade, she advanced me to the 4th grade, which was very nice of her, but it probably made it harder for me years later in school. But I didn't blame her.
She was bright.
Oh dear. And of course, she was, as she said, her boyfriend was Glenn Weese. Well, that was my uncle. And so all those years that I was there, I wanted her to be my aunt, you know. And that just never happened. But she was wonderful because she put on these little plays, little skits. Every holiday we had something. I remember things she doesn't remember, but I'm sure that's because they were more profound in my eyes than they were to her because she did so much of it. But I can remember our school Christmas shows or plays, whatever you want to call them, and all the things we had, the sings we had. I remember one spring, I guess it was, we had a Holland play. She made tulips, or grew tulips. We had tulips all over the stage, and we had wooden shoes. Now, she doesn't remember any of that. She must have done something much more spectacular after that year or something. But she was just wonderful. She had a way of teaching us, penmanship, everything. She was just really great about whatever she taught you.
How about you?
Well, I agree with everything that Norma has said, and she was a wonderful teacher, and I don't really recall, except maybe from one boy that gave her a little bit of trouble, but that didn't last very long. And we all got along, and we all had games that she would tell us how to play. We played Annie Annie over the school roof, and we would get out on the ice on the ditch in the winter, and just whatever was available in the schoolyard, we played. And I don't remember a whole lot about the lessons, but I made it through high school just with flying colors, so I guess it wasn't too bad.
Yeah,
Well, you've answered a couple of my questions on what you did in the schoolyard. Did you have playground equipment?
We had a swing set.
Swing set, yeah.
Okay.
and a teeter-totter.
See, I
Oh,
have,
yeah,
And a teeter-totter.
I have a picture here of this. I'm going to show this.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Well, actually, yeah. This picture of the schoolyard shows a basketball court
I don't remember that.
and swing set over here in the dark, but and this is the Montgomery School.
And the swing set had rings on it that one of the little girls who had had polio would put her feet through there and swing by her knees. I always thought that was amazing because that was Jody.
Yeah.
She had polio, so what was she not able to do? And then
There was nothing that she couldn't do. She could ride a horse like you couldn't believe, and still could today if you asked her to.
She limped, and that's the only reason
Yeah.
you would know
Yeah.
she'd had anything.
Okay, I'm going to show this picture of your class, Evelyn,
See, there's that one.
in,
I don't remember that.
and I'm going to ask your students what year that was, as close as you can figure.
Oh dear.
Do you think you're an 8th grader there, Dorothy?
It looks like I probably was. I don't recall.
And which one do you think is you, Dorothy?
The one in the white between the tall girl and the tall boy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anybody else in that photograph?
Evelyn? Oh, Evelyn. I believe down in the front on the right is Dorothy's brother, David.
I think so. He was 3 years younger than myself.
Is that next boy maybe that house boy? Do you remember the house boy? Donnie House? Okay.
But I
No.
recognize that youngster, but I can't tell you who he is.
But then the next boy we think is an Orm, which is Johnny Orm, Evelyn says.
That's the one in the middle in the front row?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Which one was the troublemaker, Dorothy?
He's not in this, is he?
No,
Is he a year ahead of you?
I'm thinking of Billy Bickle.
I knew who you were thinking of.
And he didn't really give anybody too much trouble, but we thought he was. But
He was
everybody else got
He-
along so well, he always had to stir up something.
He
But
was ornery.
the short girl in the back, I think, is Jackie Morris Hartnagel. Is that what you think?
Mm-hmm.
And her sister was Jody, the one that had the polio, and they lived just walking distance from the school, short walking distance, and we're still friends to this day. Jody and Jackie, and they had twin daughters, and both of them are gone now, but they were older than myself.
Is that it, as far as recognizing students there?
Well, Evelyn seemed to think the girl next to Dorothy was a Wysong?
I saw
Phyllis
It could have
Wysong.
been a Phyllis Wysong, and her parents lived down on the corner 36th and 66th, and at that time they had filling station there, and
Yeah.
Phyllis was in my grade, so I'm thinking that probably is her.
So none of you lived very far from
No.
the schoolhouse.
2
You-
miles. I lived west of the school.
You walked?
Yes, a lot of the time.
What did you do on snow? Did you have snow days?
No.
No.
We played out in the yard on snow days
Yeah.
and played fox and geese.
Uh-huh.
They didn't call school because of bad weather?
No.
Never
I
heard of it.
Never have.
How long does it take to walk 2 miles?
I don't know, because we had friends that walked with us, and it seemed like it was a very short time, and it was safe. It wasn't like highways of work today.
Traffic wasn't as bad.
No.
What were some of the family names in that area in school when you were that might still be in the area today?
Well, let's see, the Hammonds, Max Hammonds went to school there. And some of his boys are still around. I don't know if they're in Lyons, are they?
Yes, they
Are they?
are.
Oh,
In fact,
okay.
Colton just graduated high school
Oh, okay.
this year.
Mary Christensen, you said, is still in the vicinity.
Well, she's in California, but
Oh.
we correspond every Christmas.
Okay.
Donna McLean, Donna Schneider
Okay.
was a
Yeah.
good friend of mine. She was 2 years older than me, and we're still the best of friends. She lives in Greeley.
Now, Evelyn, what names? I was curious about some of the student names that you might have taught in years prior to
Oh, dear.
what we're talking about. Did you have any Bashers?
No,
Did you have any Lukanens?
I didn't teach any lieutenants. They were more my age.
Oh, okay.
When I went to school, Leonard and Reno both went there.
When you were in school.
When I was in school,
Okay.
in that one picture we have.
Are you in this one?
Yes, I'm in the second row.
Oh, I'm going to put this up and give you another copy to look at. If you can name any of the people in this. This photograph is from the Lyons Recorder, and it was a photograph taken in 1926, I believe.
Now, what am I supposed
Well,
to?
who do you, if you're in that class as a student, who else do you recognize in there?
Well, I recognize most of these people, which are named over here at the side. There's Reno Lukeman, Adney Wellington. Next, this is front row going from left to right. Adney Wellington, oldest. Now, I'm not sure about Oatney. I thought the name was Oatney. It's one in the family. And a sister, then Margie Brackett and Wellington, Maxine Wellington, Leonard Lukeman. Do you want me to name any more?
Yeah, I do.
Shirley, going second row, left to right. Shirley Brackett, Helen Clark. I know her, but can't say it. The tall one, Edna Camel. And Brackett, Margie Brackett, and Kenneth Wallace, related to the Montgomerys. And then Abe Weese, the shorter one. And then not Albert.
Jim Weese.
Jim Weese.
Now, what about this row here? The second row, shorter
I
people.
think that's the second row. That's an Oatney. I'm not sure about that, but that's who that is.
And is that you?
That's
Next to her?
Oh,
is
yes.
Which row are we on now?
The second row.
Second row.
second row, bottom, second, going from left to right. And then Glenn Weese.
Boy, he was a chubby little guy. I didn't know that.
He looks like he was going to be the governor or something.
He does,
That's why I was attracted. And Wellington, Edwin Wellington, and Bill Brackett, William Brackett,
It's interesting.
and
I think we've done the rest there. What about this? Oh, yeah, you did that girl. What about
Edna
that?
Edna Camel, yeah. I knew her. Oh, the back row
Oh,
is
my dad.
your dad,
Yeah. Norma Weese.
Norma Weese.
And who's next to him right there?
That woman down a little bit, that's Clark.
The hygiene clerks?
No.
And
And
the
then
teacher.
the teacher,
Who was the teacher? Do you know?
yes. Can't tell you.
Well, it's probably down here. You wouldn't have to.
And and Pearl Talbot was the other teacher.
All right. Why was the school called Montgomery?
Well, the Montgomery people lived right east, and whether that was put on their property or not, I don't know.
Was that the Robert Montgomery family?
Charlie
Charlie?
Montgomery and his sister Ruth.
Okay.
And some of the Montgomery still live on
Do
that
they?
place, don't they?
Yeah, Charlie was on the school board.
Yeah, but there's another Montgomery there.
That lives in the house, you mean?
Yeah.
The old place?
I don't know about that.
Well, you've
thought
talked
there
about
was.
them before, Dorothy.
Well, I thought that's who was there. I'm not sure.
You mentioned anti-over as a game you played. Would you describe how you play that?
Well, you have this ball, and when you're ready to throw it, Annie, over is what you would say, and so the other folks could hear your voice, and they would catch the ball and run around and try and catch as many people, tag as many people as you could, and the ones that ended up with the most people won, or something like that.
You have two
Maybe I'm making this up, but
two sides. No,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah, that's what we did.
The boys played with girls on the
Oh
playground.
yeah.
Were there any ball teams?
Yes. We played ball.
Yeah, we played baseball, work-up baseball.
We went to Hygiene and played. We didn't win. I'm a poor loser. We had a lot of fun. They had more people to choose from than we did.
Are boys and girls on the team then too?
Sure.
Who was their coach?
Probably the teacher. Right?
We just knew how you worked up. You know, 1, 2, 3, and you're out. Well, then you move back to the
Yeah, the field.
outfield, and you work your way up from pitcher to catcher to first or second.
Oh.
It was automatic. You didn't have to have anybody tell you how to do it
Well,
after we learned how you did it.
Well, we really didn't have a lot of kids, so we couldn't have two teams.
It was called workup.
Yeah.
This was probably a big class, really, wasn't it, Evelyn? Did you have that many when you were teaching?
Well, in 2 classrooms, yes, when you put it. I think so.
Did you have special teachers that would come in for special classes like music or art or anything?
This is it.
She taught it
So
all.
Evelyn taught it all.
She could play the piano wonderfully and did that in the programs. And the community club. They had a Montgomery community club, and all the parents and the people that lived around would come once a month, wasn't it, that we had community club, and we would have a program. Oftentimes, kids in the school would put on a program. Not a lot, but then at Christmas and one other.
I remember Halloween. one
Halloween,
time,
maybe, yeah.
Ducking for apples.
Yeah,
And everybody had to have
yeah.
a costume of some sort. I
She
don't
always made it fun.
Yes.
It was fun to go to school. Nobody ever wanted not to.
Yeah. Well, that was our social life.
Yeah, it was.
That's it.
We lived far apart,
Yeah.
usually. So it was good to.
It's like a big family.
It was.
That's great. Well, how did you handle Billy Bickle when he misbehaved?
You don't really tell. He was spoiled by his mother, not his father. I think it was a stepfather. And she had plenty of finance, and whatever Billy wanted, he got. Whatever he wanted to do, he did. And coming to school one day, he was playing marbles with Jackie Morris and some other kids. And he claimed she took his big marble or important marble, wouldn't give it back to him, so he grabbed her by the hair and yanked a whole hunk of hair out of her scalp. Yes. That's the only youngster I ever worked over. I gave him all I could. Well, and we were in the cloakroom, and the other kids were in the classroom. Well, pretty soon the door peeked open a little bit, and it was Jackie's father. He'd heard what happened to Jackie. He was going to come up and settle. And so he told somebody else, he saw the kid was getting what he needed, so he didn't need to bother. That's not a plus to my teaching ability.
Well, where was Billy's mother in all of this?
Probably home. She was not a retired lady, but she was kind of reserved and ladylike, and he needed a little more action.
And Mary Christensen lived with them. She was an older cousin or something, and we're still friends. She lives in California, but I hear from her every Christmas. And I don't know how she stood Billy, but I think she was tall, really tall, and she could handle herself very well.
She came to see me here, and her daughter with her, and they're both tall. They wanted to take a picture. So I'm going to stand on this fireplace. So I was even Stephen. But, yeah, she's a good friend. I don't hear from her often, but I do hear Christmas.
She writes to all of us.
Well, it was a family then, wasn't it?
Yes, it's like a family.
What did you do for lunch?
Whoa. Brought a
Sandwich.
set, yeah. Took our own lunch to school.
There was no hot program. Hot, what do you call it?
Meal.
Hot meal, no lunchroom. Everybody had their sack, and whatever mom put in it is what they had.
And she had to clean the school before school started. And I would go down and help her. And every time we would go to her mother and dad's place for the most wonderful lunch you ever saw. And then we'd go back and clean the school some more.
I can't remember that.
I do. Your mom was a wonderful cook.
What was involved in cleaning the school?
Just getting the desks ready and the floors swept, and it wasn't anything spectacular.
Sweeping compound.
Yes, that's
They
what.
brought in cans of sweeping compound. And
Kind of oiled the floor as you swept it.
made it look nice. Main floor and basement.
What kind of heat did you have? You said there was a stove or a furnace?
A
in the
furnace, and
basement?
she did the furnace too. She had her brother help her sometimes. Leroy would come down and help her, but mainly she did the furnace.
Well, it worked all right most usually. It had a stoker, and that ground it in, and that usually worked. And they bring a load of coal, dump it in the coal bin on the west side, then periodically shovel that into the hopper, it would grind it in. Then sometimes when you opened the main door, the air was just almost blue with a putrid smell. It had sheared a pin, and so it just ground it through but didn't burn it. So Leroy'd shovel that stuff out. I couldn't do that. But
And then the ash pit was in back of the school. And she would take the ashes out in the morning or evening or whenever you did that.
yeah,
She did that.
Were you paid any extra for being janitor?
Are you kidding?
she's a dreamer.
Well, what was your salary, if I may ask?
Pardon?
What was your salary?
Now, what was it? Seems like it was 800 and something per year to start with. Yes, and I was happy to have it.
Well, over the years, you taught there quite a while. Your salary must have gone up.
Oh, I think it did. I think every year they gave me a little increment. Florence Siglinger, the other teacher when I went there, got more than I did. It was because she was principal. So when Florence left, I said, how about me being principal? So I got her salary. Yes. Fabulous.
Is that when Miss Wiggins, if I'm saying that right, came?
Myrtle Wiggin came and she was the other teacher after Florence. Florence got married and went to Estes Park. She taught some in Estes Park.
Could you be married and teach school?
No, if you got married, that's your job. That's a no-no. I don't know why, but
That's why she didn't marry my uncle, I guess. Oh my gosh.
I think more of my job.
No, you knew you couldn't.
Did you ever have the county superintendent come and observe?
Oh, yes.
I remember.
The first time I remember I was downstairs and the door opened and a man's foot protruded and just stood there, and I thought, ye gads, I wonder what's going on. Eventually he came in, and Mr. Davis, he was the county superintendent. He'd been to Hygiene. Everything was going well. I can't remember what he did when he was there, but he visited a while and then he took off and left. That's all I ever saw of him.
Did he ever give suggestions when he made these visits?
If he did, I can't remember.
So it must have been good, or you would have remembered.
Oh, he would have told me. I know he would.
Now these, the school board, this three-person school board you had, they were probably parents, right?
Well, her mom, Charlie Montgomery, no, and John Wang, he was a parent.
Wang.
Wang?
W-E-N-G.
E-N-G.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, did they give you any of the supplies that you asked for?
They were very generous. If I needed something, all I had to do was tell them and I got it. Yeah, they were very good.
Why did you quit teaching at Montgomery?
They got tired of me.
That isn't the way I heard it.
That's the way I heard it. Well, I had taught there 12 years. And John Wang, he was one on the school board. And it was at a wedding of his daughters. And he came to me, and it was an awful thing to tell me, when I was just getting ready to catch the bouquet of flowers, you know. He says, Evelyn, you know, I think, now you've taught 12 years, you've done a real good job, But he says, you know, everybody has different talents. And you can appeal to some children for some things. You're good. I was told that the kids that went from Montgomery were very good in English. Well, I'd had a minor in English and another English class, so I felt competent in teaching English, probably more than anything else. Well, he said it'd be good if we'd have somebody with different emphasis on a different talent. I said, well, I understand that. I didn't really, but I did. And so I said, okay.
What year did they consolidate then and close Montgomery?
Well, another woman came in there after I was there. I don't know who she was, but I think they had school a year or two after. I'm not sure.
Were there snakes on the school ground? I know some of those small schools had rattlesnakes in the area.
Not that I know
I
of.
don't remember seeing any.
How large were your classes on an average?
Well, it's just one class. The classes are very small. Maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 at the most, but you have all of the classes.
So a total number of students you were responsible for in a given
Maybe
year?
12 or something.
Did
Yeah.
you tell me? I can't picture that. Never having gone to a one-room school. How is it to have other classes going on at the same time that you're?
They're studying. You give them things to do. Fourth, you have paperwork for them to, a reading period for another group, silent reading, to read the story and find out certain things. So only one class is reciting. And you try to encourage the other classes not to ask you questions about their problems while you're trying to have this class.
You're
And it
trying to
works.
get your work done. Because she was
Yes.
adamant about that. You get your work done. You don't have to listen.
How hard was it to concentrate on your silent reading while someone was reciting?
I don't recall
I don't.
that was any problem.
Yeah. It was still probably quieter than the schools today.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I do remember, though, and one thing I really enjoyed was having the cards to teach younger kids how to recognize words. I remember doing that. And I tried to do that with my own kids, seeing if that wouldn't help them. And then the math cards, too, addition, subtraction. I can remember doing that. And I think that helps
Yeah.
a
Sure
child
does.
to learn, even though they may know the answer from reading the back of the card. I still think it helps them. And I always thought that was a good thing for kids to do, even in the larger cards now, or larger classes.
Did you ever ask students from one grade to help a
Yes.
lower grade?
Yes. If somebody in the 5th grade finished whatever they were doing and they were good at it, to relate to the other children in a different group, like she says, if she wanted to show flashcards, numbers or words to a little group here, that can be going on while you're having a class over here.
It never seems loud and noisy, did it?
No, it
Never.
doesn't.
It was quiet, and the kids were quiet.
You hear so much today about standardized testing. Did you have any tests that you had to give students at a certain level of?
We had to give tests. I think they were standardized, something. And is that when the county superintendent, they had to go into the office to Boulder. I don't know. I
Was
don't
that when they
remember.
were graduating from 8th grade then?
Do I remember? Yes, we had a ceremony.
Yes.
Was did they have to go into the to take any kind of test to graduate from grade school? Was
We
there a
didn't.
countywide test? Is what I guess I'm saying.
We didn't at that time. At least I don't remember.
I don't recall that either.
You
I'm
both
proud
went to
of that.
Longmont High School then.
No, I went to Lyons.
I went to Longmont.
What was the why? Why the difference?
Well, my folks sold the farm,
Oh,
and so we left the area, and then we were gone for, let's see, I came back in the 5th grade at Montgomery, and then the 6th grade I was in Oregon, and the 7th grade I was in Montana. The 8th grade I came back to Lyons, and then my folks moved to Longmont after we lived in Estes for a while, and that's why I ended up graduating in Longmont.
where was your farm? The folks sold a farm.
Just west of McCaw Lake. In fact, McCaw Lake was part of it, the original homestead originally.
The
many
house
years
is
ago.
still there. It's
Yeah,
been
the house is
updated.
still
It's
there.
a beautiful place.
Yeah, they've done some nice things on it. But my great-great-grandfather homesteaded there.
And his name was?
Christopher Columbus Weese.
Okay. So the Moomaw, Jack Moomaw married.
Lila Moomaw, Lila Weese Moomaw, yes, yeah.
How did you get to high school from Lyons? Or no, you went to Lyons.
Yes, I did. My folks drove me up there. I've lived on one of those 3 corners all of my life. Never got out of Dodge. And I married young, and my husband died young, and then I was a secretary at CU for 18 years.
Nice.
Best job I ever would have had anywhere.
And what did you go on to do, Norma, professionally? Anything?
I was a banker.
Okay.
That's why when she said a banker interviewed, I went, why?
I'm proud of both of them.
So I thought, why is that banker interviewing her? But I know now, he was part of the school board, you know. But I was a banker here in Longmont for 30 years.
Yeah, a long time.
Which bank?
Well, you know how they changed their names. I started out at St. Vrain Valley, which was a little new one on Kaufman and 7th, or Kaufman and 7th, I think. And then they were bought out by United, and then I think Norwest bought them out. Then I was offered a job at Pioneer, which was a new bank that came into town. And then Pioneer was bought out by several places, so I'm confused about where I actually ended up. How's that?
I'm going to show this photograph that you marked on St. Vrain flood.
Yeah.
It's this one right here, Dorothy. When was that picture taken?
That, I think there's a date on there. Does it say 60?
Oh, no, it says 34, 39.
Oh, well, whatever it says, I said. Well, what do you want to know about?
Well, was this near your...
It's right above the old iron bridge. Now, people know where the old iron bridge was, across the St. Vrain. I think everybody does.
Yes.
It is no longer there. Right west of the cement bridge that goes over to the cement company.
Okay. How often did the St. Vrain flood like that? That's a lot of
Well,
water.
I can't say every year, but most years we have a little period when you get plenty of rain and it comes up. Dorothy lives right on it. She could verify.
There was one place up from 36 and 66 in that Lieutenants owned that, and Sinai lived up there, and they were flooded out. Their home went.
When was that?
Oh, boy, a long time ago. But no, I still live, not too far off from the river, but in years now they divert a lot of that water, and you know where it goes, out that way somewhere.
Up above Lyons. What is that? There's a dam.
Button
Yeah,
Rock?
Button
Button
Rock.
Rock.
Yeah.
I think after they put that in,
Yeah,
it took care of a lot of this
Yeah.
high water.
and it still gets high. I can open my
Yeah.
bedroom window and I can hear it, but it's not high, not scary or anything like that. But it has in years past flooded down in there.
Are there any stories you would like to tell on Evelyn? As we wrap up this interview.
Well, I just think she was the most wonderful teacher I ever had. I always had a good time. We got along, and I know it was because of what she did, because we were kids like everybody else. So,
I think she really instilled in us too how to study and take pride in what we were doing. And I know that helped me. I still had to study hard, but I know that helped me through school. And I've been very thankful for that. And penmanship, oh my gosh, penmanship was so important.
yeah.
And I think that was great too. But she was a wonderful teacher. And why wouldn't I want her to be my aunt?
Have you kept this close in touch all these years, or did you just kind of come together?
Well, Dorothy did.
Yeah, I started coming down here. I started a different church. I used to go to, I've been a Methodist, a Presbyterian, and now I'm a Lutheran. And after church, it was just a nice little drive down here, and I just would come to see her, and then Norma started coming too, and we still must meet all together.
It's such a good habit.
Do you still hear from other students, though?
Oh,
Evelyn?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Jackie's one of her favorites. She was kind of one of the ornery ones, but she just loves
Jackie
Evelyn.
Hartnagel. I don't hear from her sister,
Jody.
Jody,
Yeah.
but Jackie's very close.
I keep in touch with Jody. Jody lives in Arizona. Jackie lives in Texas, and she married an auctioneer down here, Hartnagel. So she's got a lot of ties in Longwood. And like I say, my friend Donna lives in Greeley, and we grew up together. We stay together.
I have a lot of kids. I never married. I don't have any blood relation, but they're my relation.
Do that.
And all over, just most every place I go, I've got kids. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for letting us eavesdrop on.
Well, thank you
your
for taking
friendship.
us back in years. It's been fun.
It was
Yeah, I
interesting.
learned stuff I had not heard, so that was good. Even though we kind of pick her brain every time we're here about, well, what about, But you heard things today that we haven't actually
Yeah.
heard, so that was good.